Welcome to Stone Soup Poetry. We're back to our feature for the rest of this month, and I'm very excited about that. Our feature tonight is Russell DuPont, a person who I was privileged to meet amidst the pandemic, amidst a host of online open mics. He came to Stone Soup a couple of times. He's been a contributor to Oddball. He's been contributing to Jerry Jazz Musician, which is an online journal you should check out. Patricia's Carrigan's facial expressions will verify that recommendation. It's fantastic to have him here. He's definitely a writer that I wish I could have known when I was still living in South Boston, but I'm glad I know him now. And I'm glad he's definitely deserving of more recognition around the poetry community. So hopefully this will be one more step towards that. And he'll be featuring after the open mic, which I'm excited to start now with a preview of the feature for next week on the 30th of June. She is not only celebrating new releases of poetry, but also celebrating a release of a brand new novel, Angel Fire, I believe is the name, through Alien Buddha Press. So we'll be excited to hear excerpts from that and all her other poetry. John Wesick says, mention her hair. This is post-canvassing hair. This is post-election hair. So this is to be respected. But she's been canvassing all this week for a candidate who unfortunately didn't win because this is the new communist era of America. So, which means no progressive candidate can get into the fucking office that we want. But I'm going with it. Just nod and sigh along and welcome Patricia Carrigan to get a taste of what's going on for next week.
Okay, a very short poem I wrote today, Body and Soul, sung by Billie Holiday. He said he wasn't coming back, took the wind that painted auras in acrylic joy, lifted the essence of body and soul left on filthy sheets. The gaslight lamp used to stay on, blinded her 24/7. A torch song plays on a broken record, grows tired, loses its fire, yet can't forget. This lady, now free, sings the blues on clean sheets. Although not her fault, wears the shame of Lilith and Eve. Thank you.
And there's more where that came from. There better be. She's got about 20-25 minutes on the slot, so better be more than one poem. I'm just messing. Patricia Carrigan will be featuring next week to close out the June Stone Soup, and hopefully we'll be entering July with some lively poets, which I'll hopefully be able to mention in the next couple of weeks. More on that later. Let's bring up next on the open mic, and of course I dropped my piece of my notepad with people placed in random order. Oh, but I could have guessed this one. This person is our orator extraordinaire, who's been kicking off Stone Soup. I just want to give a preview for the feature, so for next week. But let's bring him on now for maybe a little bit more Richard III, maybe a little bit Shakespeare, maybe a little bit different Shakespeare, maybe My Lumps by the Black Eyed Peas. Who knows? Maybe even a little Dr. Seuss. Let's welcome up Mr. John Sturm.
Thank you, Chad. How about a little William Butler Yeats?
I can go for that.
The People. What have I earned for all that work I said, for all that I have done at my own charge? The daily spite of this unmannerly town, where who has served the most is most defamed, the reputation of his lifetime lost between the night and morning. I might have lived, and you know well how great the longing has been, where every day my footfall should have lit in the green shadow of Ferrara wall, or climbed among the images of the past, the unperturbed and courtly images, evening and morning the steep street of Urbino, to where the Duchess and her people talked the stately midnight through, until they stood in their great window looking at the dawn. I might have had no friend that could not mix courtesy and passion into one like those that saw the wicks grow yellow in the dawn. I might have used the one substantial right my trade allows, chosen my company and chosen what scenery had pleased me best. Thereon my phoenix answered in reproof. The drunkards, pilferers of public funds, all the dishonest crowd I had driven away when my luck changed and they dared meet my face, crawled from obscurity and set upon me. Those I had served and some that I had fed. Yet never have I now nor any time complained of the people. All I could reply was, you that have not lived in thought but deed can have the purity of a natural force. But I, whose virtues are the definitions of the analytic mind, can neither close the eye of the mind nor keep my tongue from speech. And yet, because my heart leaped at her words, I was abashed. And now they come to mind after 9 years. I sink my head abashed. William Butler Yeats, Adam's Curse. We sat together at one summer's end, that beautiful, mild woman, your close friend, and you and I, and talked of poetry. I said, a line will take us hours, may be, yet if it does not seem a moment's thought, our stitching and unstitching has been naught. Better go down upon your marrow bones and scrub a kitchen pavement or break stones like an old pauper in all kinds of weather. For to articulate sweet sounds together is to work harder than all these, and yet be thought an idler by the noisy set of bankers, schoolmasters, and clergymen the martyrs call the world. And thereupon that beautiful, mild woman for whose sake there's many a one shall find out all heartache on finding that her voice is sweet and low, replied, to be born woman is to know, although they do not talk of it at school, that we must labor to be beautiful. I said, it's certain there is no fine thing since Adam's fall, but needs much laboring. Oh, there have been lovers who thought love should be so much compounded of high courtesy that they would sigh and quote with learned looks precedents out of beautiful old books. We sat grown quiet at the name of love. We saw the last embers of daylight die, and in the trembling blue-green of the sky, a moon, washed by time's waters as it rose and fell about the stars and broke in days and years. I had a thought for no one's but your ears, that you were beautiful and that I strove to love you in the old highway of love, that it all seemed happy and yet we'd grown as weary-hearted as that hollow moon. William Butler Yeats, for Anne Gregory. Although altered a little bit because the love of my life is a brunette. Never shall a young man thrown into despair by those great chocolate-covered ramparts at your ear love you for yourself alone and not your rich brown hair, to which she replies, but I can get a hair dye and set such color there, blonde or black or carrot, that young men in despair may love me for myself alone and not my rich brown hair. I heard an old religious man but yesterday declare that none but God, my love, could love you for yourself alone and not your rich brown hair. So wrote William Butler Yeats.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sturm. We're going to keep on moving. We got some new additions. I'm adding people as they come in to the open mic list. Looking forward to a couple of people who haven't been here for a while coming back. Looking forward to someone who I haven't seen since the live days of Stone Soup. Remember those? But for now, we're going to bring up past Stone Soup feature on the open mics on the online circuit. Hopefully we'll see him live one day, someday, but I'm glad he's here as a regular. Let's welcome up Mr. John Wizik.
Thank you, Chad. So I got just a message over Facebook that one of my poetry mentors, Sam Hammond, died yesterday. And he was the guy who went to the Iowa Writers Workshop and rubbed elbows with all these people like Kurt Vonnegut and whatnot, and Arab American. So anyway, I tried to put together some thoughts about him today, and this is So You Finally Made It to Paradise for Sam Hammond. Do all Muslims get 72 virgins? With your big messy heart, you'll need a few more. I remember the artist who shared your condo and the grad student you took on a globe-trotting honeymoon/divorce after she wrote her thesis about you. Always quick with a boast, conspiracy theory, talk about jazz or memory of your father's bar. You were a rare ally in the work of translating the human heart to the page. Your words hopped like a gazelle, your haiku, not 575, but leaf, leaf, flower. Your 3 old Muslims praying by the highway and after the funeral of Assam Hamidi epitomized devotion for those of all faiths. Hope there's plenty of kibbeh, hummus, and fattoush where you are, and that the music is fine.
Thank you very much, John. Up next on our open mic. Oh, if you have any links to his work, John, it'd be lovely if you could share them online. Who do we have next on the? Yes, we have Jan Rowe. Oops, who might be absent, might be away. Jan, if you are ready, you can unmute yourself and have a go at it. Uh-oh. So it looks like Jan. Whoops.
Here she
There
is.
she is.
Oh, I'm sorry for the delay. I was getting a drink.
No worries.
So this is from the weekly of the Black Seed Writers that becomes quarterlies. Every Tuesday morning, 9:30, Park Street Station, Cathedral Basement. This is actually one of James's. Usually I can't read his because I cry, but this has a nice parallel structure. It's kind of poetic. And he doesn't know when he wrote it, do you? Called How Goes the Struggle? We ask why. They gave us what for. We wanted space. Everybody did time. We tried to take down walls and they said, you ain't seen nothing yet and you won't see it ever again yet. We said, why not? Why not just try it? And they blamed us for each poison pill. We were right and they were ever wrong. We found out it still just goes on and on. We tested the waters. They dumped in shit. We heard the lyric, but they kept the beat. We looked for logic and they defined reason. We were headed for home, but they owned it. We knew there was a much simpler way while they reveled in the intricacy of their technique. We did something different while they curled up in nostalgic balls by suburban exit ramps. We were ready to die. They did not know they, or even we, were even alive because they had a choice, but it wasn't considered. Now we're all here together. Thank you. That's James Van Looy written. You have no idea?
In the mysterious past.
In the mysterious past. And in the weekly for the Black Seed Writers. Thank you.
Mysterious James from the mysterious past.
It's all a mystery. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, James. By default, we're going to bring us now to the next person on the open mic, the first of our by computers by way of phone. Gives me great pleasure to introduce Miss Carol Weston. Carol, that means you're up.
Did you say?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. This is a poem about someone I knew long ago who took his life. In his dream, what dawns? In his dream, he was ground up in his mother's mouth. The museum, he spread his arms and screamed at the sight of the bleeding Christ. If he were breathing now, what dawns would be reflected on his face? The glistening soil. There is no pearl-like slug in grass or stinking ginkgo seed or broken insect wing that does not matter on the glistening soil. There is no deep iron sunset on the quahog shell, no world black whelk that does not play the music of the sphere. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Nice, Carol. Beautiful.
Thank you, Carol. Looks like John Sturm left us. Hopefully he'll come back. But for now, we continue the show with more of the open mic. And up next, we have joining us, I believe he's on a computer or a phone, but he's cameraless, but it never stops him from being heard. Let's welcome up Mr. Chris Fitzgerald. Hopefully he'll be able to unmute himself. Chris, are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Clear.
Okay. I've done 2 pieces on Marlon Brando over the years. This is one of them. I did a piece on O'Neill a couple of weeks ago. And then I shot another short poem. The off-screen incident happened probably 1973, the year after Marlon won his Oscar for The Godfather, Don Corleone. In 1972, he was also in another movie, Last Tango in Paris. He made millions from his role in that movie. Bernardo Bertolucci, writer-director, also made millions. The female lead in that movie, just as integral to the success of the movie, Maria Snyder, made $2,500. $2,500. In 1973, when her friends were going on vacation south of France, this 19-year-old Parisian girl, she didn't have enough money to get her own place. She had to share a place with 2 of her female friends. So that neighbors plenty of times heard someone in distress. Are you coming out? I'll be out in a minute. You said that 10 minutes ago. They only had but 1 bathroom. Brando had 4 bathrooms that year. Bertolucci 3. Are you coming out? I'll be out in a minute. You said that 30 minutes ago. One of those 4 bathrooms Brando never saw. He couldn't tell you if the seat was up or down. He died 30 years later without realizing that knowledge. She was an actor. You were an actor. You should have looked out for her just a little. Brando had set up to receive his 1972 Oscar, this Native American woman, Sashim Littlefeather. It was just a candy-ass Hollywood pose. He should have got up himself and dedicated his Oscar to that great American actor, Sitting Bull. Sitting Bull wasn't a comic actor. He wasn't a dramatic actor. He didn't even like the soft shoe. I like the soft shoe. Sitting Bull knew how to act, how to engage the person across from him honestly. That's how we should engage the world. That's the real meaning of acting, not the Hollywood. Dig me, dig me. He's one of my favorite great Americans. If he would have been involved in the aforementioned Maria Snyder situation, he would have made sure Maria would have had at least a porta-jane for emergencies only. Are you coming out? I'll be out in a minute. Forget about it. I'm going to use the porta-jane. Porta Johns and Porta Janes were rental products invented in America in the 1950s. Were quite popular on American construction sites in the 70s and 80s. My favorite Sitting Bull line, he got himself a paying gig in Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. Reporter was asking him questions in 1884, New York City. Sitting Bull said, "You white men, you know how to create this great wealth. You just don't know how to distribute it." So now you know why we've ended up with a game show host as president and game show contestants and supporters. This is called The Lady with the First Step. You know, baby, I like you so much that everybody who isn't you, I don't like. Not that they bother me or owe me money or something. Oh, they're all right. Your face, I can gaze at it for 1,000 hours without getting tired for one moment. Your body, impossible for me to associate an unpleasant ounce concern in it. The way you move, your first step, you instantly break into such a graceful glide. I never knew someone could start out so well. Oh, I know, Fred and Ginger, Fred and Ginger, nothing. 2 steps it took them, 2 steps. Belinsky, 2.5. Kolachov, 3, 4 during the matinees. You know, baby, I not only love the way you look, I also love the way you look at me. Indeed, that's the way I should have been looked at from the get-go. Then again, what should I have ever have expected from this group, whose first step hadn't even noticed? Thank you. Was that clear?
That was very clear, sir. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
Who do we have next on our list? Yes. Let's welcome up. Ask her to unmute herself by pressing *6 and welcome up the second and final of our two people joining us by phone, Miss Nancy Dodson. There you go.
A walk in solitude. New moons create a small crescent. A star lights up the sky. A light proceeds along the pathway. A dog statue appears before me. A dog barks, but I stay on the path. Solitude breeds delight. Joy envelops my soul. Alone.
That was a mic drop, in case you couldn't hear that clearly. Thank you so much, Nancy. And we are moving on to closer, but slowly but surely to the end of the open micers. We have a few more to go. Let's welcome up next, who I think can join us if he's not no longer in the car. Mr. Phil Curtis, aka Midnight. Are you able to join us? If not, I obviously understand. Okay, I'm going to assume that Phil is driving and he's not able to join us. So again, totally understand. We're going to move to the next person on the open mic, who was actually one of our he was among the last performers before COVID-19 hit us back in 2019, 2020. I think the last person we had live was John Lane, but he is Arthur Stratosphere. Williams, aka Stratosphere, was the one of the last performers we had in 2019 when we started to perform in the assemblage gallery as part of the Fort Point Arts community. And I'm very glad he's able to join us tonight for the first time online. I've seen him in a couple of other online venues. It's great to have him here. Let's welcome up Stratosphere. You're up, sir.
Right. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I've been really trying to get out here. So it's really good to be back. Really good to be here and in it. How much time am I working with? I don't want to overstay my welcome.
I'd say about 3 to 5 minutes. You should be good.
Okay. All right. So I think, okay, then I have time for 2. I'll do that. So this one is called When I Fidget in Silence. I think I'm actually going to change that to I Fidget Quietly. It just comes, I've been experiencing a lot this year. And so this is the poem from that. Okay. I know it in my chest first. The breath of my heart fades back into its physical boundary. Beats rumble against my breast with the same intensity they used to resonate with the world. I catch my breath and strangle it until oxygen is diffused by my lungs. Shortness of breath is to feel that something is searching for sun inside me, because the strobe of my quickening gasps bring less illumination than epilepsy in the sight of the door before the greater world flickering out of existence like some stop-motion solar eclipse causes seizures that send this tortured something crashing into my rib cage at one, now nearly 200 beats per minute, because my chest is too full to nurture anything but blood that thrums delirium. In this frenzied SOS is the only way it can relay its claustrophobia. And since Hollywood lied about the need for bite block and strap, I do not have to worry about my tongue, which I let rip through whatever cautiously edges into the border of my internal focus. The stimulus is too nauseating to swallow when this malnourished need is clawing at my viscera, scarring the lock on what's visceral within me into disrepair, and I'm afraid to release the howl my throat grips tighter than any treasure, because I already know Pandora's truth and refuse to break the sound barrier with the force of my cries for silence and peace, because my spirits will not crumble with everything I've built, and there is no relief in knowing that I am the epicenter of destruction endless miles around. So if I am quietly absorbed in playing with some mundane thing, then let me be. Right. So that was one. This one is called Down a Dark Highway. It's just born from, it's kind of daunting going back into the world after quarantine. So this is it. It's a shot glass, but it's a full glass. Third one, up to the rim. A basketball game is playing on the screen. Fans are shouting. Unsure footsteps drag the tipsy to the bathrooms. Timeouts draw parallels between dancing cheerleaders and fleet-footed waitresses. The dull rumble of enjoyment doesn't affect the glass. The tequila that the bartender recommended after one look at my face never ripples, only reflects the dim sheen of the bar counter. I can only see myself looking out. I know the world would burn if I drank it in like this still spirit. The vapors carry me in their fog to commune with ghostly thoughts of what brought me here. They float me back to my car and seat me under the endless gray of an overcast sky. The heaviness muffles the highway into a wan halo of headlights, taillights, gas stations, and highway lampposts. In between the soft groaning of the engine and the grumbling of the tires stumbling on rugged roads, I hear the sighing of fluorescent bulbs in neon creaking against the vague weight of the atmosphere, condensed into leaden clouds. I'm cruising down I-93 at 85. Horizon is the buffer between the great darkness of the universe and the keen wisps of humanity's light. All definition is lost there. Uncertainty makes the destination a cliff. I hope I don't drive us over. I heard the click of the seatbelt before pulling off, but I'm worried because they're slur drunk, slumped over and wearing cigarette smoke. So I keep checking the GPS. I'm never sure we're going the right way or to the right place, because how could I be? And how many passengers are willing to move even a single mile forward on faith? To have a path to take, signs along the way, and a destination promised, because the unknowable creeps in from every direction. The fear that how we live, who we are, is unworthy of this place. The only place in an endless darkness where light truly was made for the people who inhabit it, a heaven. And to be miserable there sounds like a slow poison, sounds like a hell, a slow poisoning to get you out of. The shouts of gratified patrons tell my body that my hand is holding the glass. I don't remember when. I only know why the backlight from TV screens morphs content smiles into perverse laughter, ghouls enjoying their torment, demons serving temptation, the flirty eyes of someone looking for another to get lost with, find mine and hold them until I bring the shot to my head. Cheers. Thank you.
Very nicely done, Stratosphere. Wonderful, wonderful work from everyone tonight. And you can actually see the first of the poems that he wrote if you scroll down a little bit on Stone Soup's Facebook page. You can actually see his read his first poem on an online literary journal, whose name escapes me right now. Who am I going to go to next? Let's see. Let's do a time for a musical interlude with Mr. Ethan Meckler. Ethan, how are you, sir?
All right, I'm okay. This Saturday, my new poetry music collective is we're going to be hitting an open mic up in Peabody called the Culture House. 6:30 to 9:30 or 6 to 9, somewhere around there. And I guess if they like us, there was talk of giving us a full set next weekend. So hopefully that will go well. So I would like to do here a musical haiku followed by something else. Sorry.
How about Ethan? Thanks so much for that. And good luck with getting a full set gig.
Thank you.
We'll have to bring your troupe together when we're finally able to be in a single room together.
Yes, we hope to do that.
Excellent. You gotta take a chance. I gotta take a shot and see if Phil has pulled over, has made it home, is able to participate maybe with a haiku. If not, then we'll move on to Blackbird. But Phil can raise his hand anytime he wishes, and I'll get him in. And up next, Blackbird, are you ready to go? Be great to hear you after all this time. Yes.
Hey, what's up? How you guys doing? 1 second.
Don't worry, I'll introduce you. Over the weekend, in celebration of Juneteenth, Blackbird took part in a one-act play, Happy Birthday, Mrs. Harriet Tubman. That was a live performance this past Saturday. I'm hoping there's a YouTube or a live stream saved somewhere on the Facebook page.
Yes, there is.
Oh, fantastic! Please link it to us.
Yes,
I
can put it in the chat room right now.
That's sweet. So check that out. I know I'm going to. I hope you guys enjoyed. Everyone enjoyed their Juneteenth weekend. It was very interesting being told I had a weekend, especially as a federal employee. It was kind of a surprise for everybody. But an amazing outlet of art happened over the weekend too, and hopefully I'll be able to link to all of it. I think most of it's been saved on YouTube and other forms of prosperity throughout the social media, so I'll be sharing those. But for now, it's time for me to shut up and to bring back someone we haven't heard for a while. Miss Blackbird, come on up.
Hey everybody, how you guys doing? So I just put it in the chat. It is, you go on YouTube and you just type in Happy Birthday Harriet Tubman, and it will come up under Monica Spencer. That's her channel.
Awesome.
All right.
We lost your video, just so you know.
Huh?
We lost your video.
Oh, because I'm trying to do the poem.
Oh, okay. No worries then. Just wanted to let you know.
All right, no problem. Who is Harriet Tubman? Alone in the darkness, searching for freedom, in the moonlight with a heart of gold, traveling the woods afar with no guide to follow, but the mighty North Star. Alone in the dark, searching for freedom, she took charge and led many men, women, and children who were sick, beaten, and scared on a journey so bizarre. Alone in the cold, she became in tune, energized by God and her ancestors. Days and times, dreams appeared to her, heavenly messages leading the way that made her wise to the ways of mankind. Her story lives on as you, if you're teaching history and equality, and we know it's true. She paved the way for many leaders of every culture, of every class. In this great future, we can't forget our past. She was the strongest asset and ultimate warrior, alone in the dark, with a heart of gold that shines the most glorious. Her home was torn down because she used the underground roads, giving hope to the hopeless. And don't forget, she freed over 700 slaves and never lost a single person, spreading nothing but truth. Who is Harriet Tubman? Harriet Tubman is a force. She is free. She is a queen. Harriet Tubman is in you, as she is in me. Her last words, I go to prepare a place for you. I go to prepare a place for you. I go to prepare a place for you. That's it. And this will be in the play as well. So this was like a low preview. So you're welcome.
Thank you, Blackbird.
Thank
Wonderful to hear you again.
Yes, but I have to leave. So I'll see you guys hopefully next week.
All right, see you soon.
All right, peace.
And with that, we'll move. Again, Phil, if you want to intervene, let us know, even if you want to do an epilogue at the end. Otherwise, continue to drive safely. And coming up next and last to close out this open mic is the columnist for Oddball Magazine, the one we have on currently. Jason couldn't make it, but we do have the author of It's All One Thing, which is published every Thursday morning without fail at 11 o'clock in the morning. And can't wait to see what he's got for us today. For the open mic, let's welcome up Mr. James Van Looy.
Thanks, Chad. So I have a piece here from the Black Seed Writers Group that I actually wrote yesterday. And it was from the prompt for it was boundaries. And so I wrote this as national boundaries. Everywhere I go, I carry a couple of paper planes, each contemplative fold ever so carefully aligned, so that each will cut the air clean in its own lane and loop the loop and glide to earth in line divine. This childish practice seems to enrage some men, so I must in play be stealing their lost innocence and launching it as unbounded symbol of the pen information revolution has made our lives, just since our 21st century forever wars and the Patriot Act soon acted up as white supremacist ethno-state. The new Jim Crow become all too real, top-down fact. The purveyors of freedom cult create fascist state, and religious liberty is excuse for exclusive hate. Whatever happened to vaunted institutional strength, the people's government revealed as oligarchic fake paroxysms of environmental peril through nations' length. And I have a Dutch song for you here now. Ali, Ali, come, geshelpa, come, Graf, come, Agav appear, come, Ali. It's it as door, go, motivata, apakat, van, matak appear, more zen, ek, wide verse later. En ik vlieg kan niet meer. En de tijden niks says rise. Not quit rain off nor point J. Feel like sometimes in the prize. Vette vada pier van zee. Oh, meine blaue Geshelta. Guys on my Levelingsdorf. Oh, meine blaue Geshelta. Geliebt in de bovenste schoif, gezegapagat, de krak van makat, gezegapagat, de krak van makat. Ik had a doive kat de lifka, it was a vinnig and a nap, more it moose sums up and dikka, spelen up a vitolskap, and dan vloog ek voor te winnen. Het woord bij knielifke zijn, kwam ik dan als eerste binnen. Dan was duivel katte wijn. O, meine blaue Geshelta, Guys an mijn Levelingsdorf. O, meine blaue Geshelta, geliekt in de bovenste shelf. Gezegapagat, de krak van makat. Gezegapagat. De krak van mijn kart. Ik zei na old en ik zei first later. Da vorne dolphin nee mee. Alle man is my vergeten. There is die man die nog zei. O, meine blaue Geshelta. Guys an mijn Levelingsdorf. O, meine blaue Geshelta. Geliekt in de bovenste schoif, gezegapagat, de krak van makat, gezegapagat, de krak van makat, gezegapagat, de krak van makat. Ale, 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 come, geshelta, come, braaf, come, aga, up here, come, ale.
That was almost metal, James. That was almost what we 80s kids call metal. Thank you so much, Mr. James Van Loy, for closing us out. Incidentally, if you've been following the chat since coming on, there are links that I put in for the Happy Birthday Harriet Tubman segment. The whole entire online show is available to that online YouTube link. And John also shared some information on the life of poet Sam Hammett via the Poetry Foundation links, which is great, much appreciated. So those are a little bit of assigned reading, assigned listening for you. Very grateful for everyone for staying on and for sharing their voice and for staying on to hear the feature. And I'm going to get started by reading the boilerplate intro. For those of you who are here for the first time or first time in a while, Stone Soup is continuing to meet at least throughout the summer.
Very hard to hear you, Chad.
Oh, sorry about that. I'll just repeat to check the links for the Harriet Tubman link via Blackbird, and also the links to via John Wesick to Sam Hammett's pages on Poetry Foundation. And moving on to the intro for Russell DuPont. For those of us who are here for the first time, we're continuing to meet throughout the summer from 7 to 9-ish, 7-ish to 9-ish on every Wednesday evening. We'll let you know when we're going to announce a switch up to live shows. Hopefully that'll be sometime in September. So stay tuned. And if you're expressing any interest in being at those shows, let me know that as well. Our feature for tonight, for June 23rd, is Mr. Russell DuPont, and his boilerplate bio reads as such. Russell DuPont is the author of 2 novels, King and Train and Waiting for the Turk. He's also the author of several chapbooks, including Up in Wisconsin, Travels with Kinsley, and There Is No Dam Now at Richford. And he has 2 full books of poetry available, Winter, 1948, and Establishing Home Plate. His poetry has been published in various literary magazines, more recently places like The Albatross, the Anthology of South Shore Poets, Reside, Oddball Magazine, and of course Jerry Jazz Musician, where he's been frequently appearing in a lot, and I've been seeing a lot. His short story, The Corner, appears in the anthology Streets of Echoes. His journalism has appeared in such outlets as the Dorchester Community News, the Melrose Free Press, and the Patriot Ledger. His novel, Waiting for the Turk, was nominated for a Goodreads Choice Book Award in 2019. He is also a photographer, painter, and printmaker whose works have been widely exhibited and are in public and private collections, including the Boston Public Library, Brigham and Women's Hospital, and the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. It's been a thrill to add Russell to the various social groups, so you get to see all of Russell's work as it happens, and he is very prolific and he is always working. We're very appreciative of those poets who can keep it going, especially in this day and age where it's hard to do anything except look at a blank page and just be glad it's not news about Trump. So very admirable, very admirable. And for those of you who haven't heard him until tonight, you're in for a treat. For those of you who have heard him, and even those who haven't heard him before, put your hands together, let's say 30 to 40 times for Mr. Russell DuPont. And you are up, sir. Looks like you have to unmute yourself.
There we are. All right.
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. You'll be happy to hear that I'm not going to read one of my Trump poems tonight. So I think I'll begin with, I just published 5 poems. I had 5 poems published in the literary journal. And I think I'll start off with at least one of those And this is a poem that goes back some years. It's titled Mea Maxima Culpa, Through My Most Grievous Fault. My mother was a daily communicant, and while I was too young to protest, still too young to not believe, she led me each morning through the streets of the project to dimly lit and narrow-aisled St. Augustine's, where shawl-draped women with uneasy eyes raised to heaven clenched their beads and mouthed silent pleas. And a sparse, bent man bowed, hunched over in his pew, hands folded, head buried in devotion, mumbled supplications, begged for mercy and grace, while morning's light flickered through stained glass windows. Later, when I was old enough to sin and no sin, I heard hypocrites pervert God's metaphors with trumped up lies, and all around us whited sepulchres preached not love, but hate, while most of us, like those penitents from long ago, beat our breast, muttering, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. That comes from my Catholic upbringing. A poem that, another poem I did some years ago that has stuck with me, or had been in me for many years. Maybe like a lot of young males, sometimes we've had conflicts with our fathers. And this poem, if I can dig it out of the file here, is the title poem to one of my chapbooks, and it's called Establishing Home Plate. There it is. It's called Establishing Home Plate. My father played baseball and was a hot prospect, so the story goes, pursued by the Braves until the accident that left him with eyes that saw two of everything. Tough to tell which ball to swing at, he'd say. Approaching the field off Columbia Road, he'd slow the car, bring it to a stop just before the railroad bridge that sliced across the road. Hunch over the wheel, over the steering wheel. From over there, he'd nod toward the far end of the field where home plate fit into the slab of turf. I hit a ball once over this bridge, the longest ball ever hit here. Almost redundant in pointing this out, he'd shrug and quickly accelerate from this place. He was good, I guess. One of those guys who gave truth to the cliches, could go to his right, dig the ball out of the dirt, make the long throw. But he never came to see me play. And I grew away from the game, maybe for a while away from him. Until last month, transfixed, I watched the old film clips, heard the shouts and cheers, saw in all those sun-weathered faces my father in all his youth, saw him once again hunched over the steering wheel, gazing into the past as the ball left his bat, rose in an easy arc over the field, over the tracks, and descended slowly into memory. Patricia may be familiar with this next one. It was in Jerry Jazz, and it's a recent jazz poem that I've written, and I think I'm finding myself spending more time writing jazz-related poems lately. And this is titled Blues in Maude's Flat. The title is taken from a jazz piece. It was the 60s. It's cool, he said. You'll dig it. A row of attached and rundown brick 3 stories. On the dark side of town. A bluesy tinge from Latif's sax flows up from the ebony shadows one flight down. She wore a tight skirt and a beige knitted pullover. Her straight black hair fell in tiny braids to just above her shoulders. Without saying anything, she reached out, took my hand, and started to sway with the music. No need to speak as we moved against each other. The blues were talking. I think I'll go back to Adelaide, and the next poem attempts to recreate something I did in my childhood that I was very lucky to get out of, and it was something stupid that a lot of kids do. I don't know, probably the one or two people here from my era will remember match shooters. We used to make them out of empty spools of thread, put tape and elastic around and shoot wooden matches into the air, and they hit the ground and go up in flames. It was a big thing when I was a kid. This is called Saxton Street. Saxton Street is where I spent many of my summers as a boy. My grandmother, I also have a poem called 40 Saxton Street. My grandmother lived there, and my both parents worked. So during the summers, I'd often go over to Saxton Street. This is Saxton Street. A child's game of sinister proportions. We did not dare to dream the hot intrusion of heat to wood, paper, or the old rags so casually disposed of. But once the glorious spark took hold and spread like gossip to the backyard fence that contained the brick block of apartments, we, unintentional arsonists, failed keepers of the flame, unable to take the heat, extinguish our fear, raced to cooler shadows while the shrill screams of sirens wail our names. Fortunately, nobody was hurt in the fire. I accidentally set the whole fence on fire behind the apartment building, but fortunately, I got out of it. Maybe another jazz poem. Let's see. We'll do Syncopation. This is a fairly recent poem within the last year or so. A mention in here is made of the Connor and King and Train, and it's where I spent my teen years, and since it appears in more than one poem and is the title of my first novel, you can assume that growing up in Dorchester on the corner of King and Train probably shaped my life. I really believe that. I find myself talking about the corner and Aram's Spa at King and Train, about the guys and all the good times, like when Pumper would do one of his crazy impressions, or when Tommy would shinny up the pole and sit on top of the red fire alarm box wearing his goofy grin. Joe Bazarian chewing on a dead cigar, hovering over the day's racing form. There was Chunky, cool Chunky, rock and roll Chunky, black pompadour slicked back, the ever-present butt dangling from the corner of his mouth, a pack of Camels rolled up in the sleeve of his tee. It was jazz, the blues, poetry, all rolled into one melody, a nightly syncopation of soulful, joyous dissonance, a reawakening. Coltrane cradling infinity through his horn. Unexpected rhythms beat out like Nance's trumpet on the A train. Each night reaching a crescendo, then fading into night train's diminuendo. Shall I go on? Okay. Do another jazz one. Got a couple of those left. This is called Listening to Coltrane. I have a suspicion I'm not the only person who does poems with John Coltrane in them. Hunkered down, listening to Coltrane's Once in a While and the smooth flow of his sax, a whiskey beside me, thinking of those jazz-infused moments before life began to drift away. A slow start, beautiful and lyrical, with a hint of the infinite flowing into an experience only poets can grasp. No runaway train here, only a bluesy and sad tune, a quest for ecstasy, world-weary and wistful, smooth and quavering, with words that repeat and repeat in my mind. Think of me once in a while. Would you like another? Okay. Go back to one of the ones in Adelaide. This one was written, well, as a writer, I'm sure. Thank you, John. I think we all experience, well, most of our lives are spent in kind of an enforced isolation, I think, when we're writing. And this is the title poem for the section in Adelaide. It's called Alone in the House on a Winter Afternoon. This house is so still, I can feel it breathe. Morning has crept away, leaving nothing but its odors, and the pale extension of afternoon will soon succumb to evening. Outside, the street grays, a dog barks, and a trembling motor coughs past. Here, there is a settling, dry sounds, the house cracking its knuckles, the crumpling of brittle paper. I have gone this far in the day, as though there could be a turning back, and there is little to lure me on. Down the hours, night waves its blunt edge, and beyond, tomorrow lurks in the bushes like a thorn ready to draw blood. I'll go on to another growing up poem, something that most of us have probably experienced. It begins with a quote from Lucretius: "All life is a struggle in the dark." Title of the poem is Ring Alivio. Imagine it, beginning in the warm, dark descending summer night. Imagine apartments coughing children into the congested street, children halving into teams, the hunted dissolving into the night. The search begins on the night's windowed eyes. Guttural voices, too loud whispers undermine the stillness. We search the streets, the loosely linked yards, stalked the still warm shadows for friends evading friends. Then clenched our captures and hauled them back into the street lamp's prison of light. Life has become a dusty attic, and it is strange how I am becoming all past. How these thoughts reach out and clutch at my mind on this summer evening, so near dark, so near that moment when night sucks up the last light. One more, the Coefficient of Haze. This is a fairly recent one done earlier this year. The fog rolled in this morning. The coefficient of haze, smoke, shade, scientific definitions to label the poetry of something that cannot be defined. The leaves have fallen in the backyard, and the bare trees are only dimly visible, and I cannot see the way to reach for the words that describe the indescribable. A curtain has fallen. Silence obscures my thoughts. As the trees dissolve into light, I resolve to search for an answer. If we like another, my grandson just emailed me. One of my grandsons. I don't know whether he's watching this on Facebook or not. Let me see. Did blues. Okay. It's another jazz poem about one of my favorites, a guy who seems to turn up on my car radio all the time off the iPod that I have stuck in there, Chet Baker. And this is from his album, The Root. Jolting along 18 over potholes and bumps, the dashboard MP3 flashes The Root. An unexpected moment of brilliance. Leroy Vinegar's toe tap a bass introduces 5 minutes of musical wizardry, light and uncluttered. Pete Jolly enters, his beat a string of delicate jewels, a joyful tintinnabulation. Baker slips in, clean and pure. If I could, I'd kip back, tap my foot like Vinegar's opening. LA jazz, too cool. Man, them cats are just having one good time. Smooth. There we are.
Love it. Do you want to do two more for a closer?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll have to call them up. I went through all the ones I had here, but give me a second.
Yeah, sure.
Just open my folder here and all right, let me see. My most published poem and the title of one of the chapbooks. I think I'll read this. This was almost a standard for me. As I said, it's been published in 2 or 3 journals over the years. It's called Winter 1948, 40 Saxton Street. A little background on this. I was, maybe I still am, a big Dylan Thomas fan. And this was influenced by any number of Dylan Thomas's poems. Winter 1948. The winter nights that pass now are so unlike the winter nights that passed before that I often struggle back in those suspended moments when sleep grapples for a hold to once again hear the voices of those nights and smell the smells that lingered in those well-worn days, and see my grandmother standing over her coal stove where I huddled on frost-filled nights, watching my mother and father, aunts and uncles play penny poker, while I broke pieces off an old straw broom, poked them through the grating, and watched them explode into a kaleidoscope of orange and blue, and then die out twisting and snaking, all black and stunted. When the top of the stove got finger-searing hot, I'd lean over and let spit drop from my lips, watch it bubble, scamper, a hellish top until it disappeared in a hiss, a wisp, There were laughs and shouts whenever someone won a hand and raked the pot across the porcelain tabletop, occasionally dropping a precious penny or two for me to reclaim from the darkness underneath. While they played, I sometimes crawled through my grandmother's bedroom, past the creaking and groaning bed, where on another night they hefted my grandfather to his feet, to the ambulance that wheeled him off to die, past the rounded, heavy-handed bureau where she kept the clutters, the wrinkled and tattered paper bags of string and stubs of tooth-marked pencils, wadded, worthless bills of the Confederacy, stamped with the faces of bearded men and stiff collars. Naming your children after Confederate generals makes for slow, steady drinkers, Atticus said. And now I think of the uncle named for Lee, and the nights I hoisted him out of Eddie Connor's tavern. There were half pieces of juicy fruit gum in gold cameo boxes stuffed with coins and uniform buttons. There were photos, frayed, crumple-edged, pale with time, of old women in print dresses, and always aprons. Into the parlor, as softly as the old black hat she kept, to find some uncle dozing on the couch. With a screech wild enough for any Indian, I was on him, arms flailing, legs around his middle, as we rolled to the carpet and fought great battles over the room and under the teeter-tottering library table. Once we tipped over the statue of a headless angel poised on the prow of a half-sunken ship, and a spider plant, its long, thin arms gangling clusters of finger leaves, and the laughing stopped. A shout and a scrape of chairs from the kitchen, and we scrambled to the hall, to the uncle's room, where we crouched in a lightless corner until there was only the sound of our breathing and the hot, sweaty, rug-burned sensation of battle on our faces. When the laughter began again and our breathing quieted, we climbed onto the bed, slipped out the smooth, metal-cold Daisy air rifle from its nest between bed and wall, gently and quietly lifted the complaining window and rested the oil-rubbed barrel on the sill while our hearts pounded loud enough for everyone in the kitchen to hear. But they didn't. I cocked the rifle and aimed it across the street at old lady Cinderella's shade-drawn window, sucked in the cold night air, and gently, nervously, hesitantly squeezed the trigger. "Squeeze it, don't jerk it," the uncle beside me whispered. With a click and a whoosh, the barrel jumped ever so slightly on the sill, off the sill, and somewhere in the blackness, a ping resonated in the night. "Nice shot," the uncle breathed, and a warmth spread over my face. "My turn," the voice whispered. After the card game, there'd be cocoa, dark creamy coffee, and amber tea, and chipped white mugs, occasionally with broken handles. Everyone talked, stirred, tousled our hair, and slipped warm coins into our damp, ready hands. Heaps of donuts, bloody with jelly pyramided on movie theater plates, next to wedges of servelat, sausage, and thick slices of cheese. Full mouths chortled and gobbled about the game, and Uncle Frank, he of the great big nose and occasional long discolored teeth, let out throaty chuckles boasting of brilliant bluffs. We knew that someday we would sit at that table, snap and slide the cards across the smooth surface. Like Uncle Nick, we'd chew a big cigar, blow rolling clouds of smoke to the ceiling, and watch them drift back around us like a pale blue scarf. The night ended all too quickly when my father stretched and yawned and unfolded himself from his chair. I hated to swap the warmth and the light for the long walk down streets glazed with frost and people walking head down, and it seemed lonely We stood in the crisp night air, stars flaring like kitchen matches, until the bus ambled up, wheezing and coughing like an unsteady drunk. With a hissing of doors and a jounce that sent us stumbling first backward, then forward, the bus plodded on into the night. I sat on my father's lap, braced against the brittle cold of his leather jacket, as the bus gently rocked and swayed its way up Dorchester Avenue. I lay my head against his shoulder, and all eerie lights passed in front of my eyes, slowly blurring, blending, and fading into darkness. Boom.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Russell DuPont, give him 30 rounds, put your hands together 30, 40 times,
Thank
either
you.
an emoji or live, however you'd like.
Wonderful, wonderful, Russell. Really,
Thank you.
really.
Beautiful, Russell.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia.
Fantastic.
See you in the next issue.
I'm right here on Dorchester Avenue right now.
Oh, okay. All right. Where? What part?
It's down from Ashmont.
Oh, okay. All right. I used to live on Train, well, obviously, used to live on Train Street and Rowena Street, right down by Ashmont.
Shame Laurel's not here tonight because she lives on Saxton. She
Yes.
lives 7 Saxton Street, Laurel.
Yeah, I go down there all the time.
Really? Two familiar places. Yes, it's good. Very good.
See, this is how the readings can bring people together. And speaking of people, we have people here who probably love to support you. So Russell, if you do have a Venmo account or a Cash App or a PayPal, now's the time to put that in the comments section so we can send some money your way. Or if you'd rather us buy your books, you can send links to that via the chat as well. And if you can't do it now, you can do it later, and I'll share it with the group.
Or I can just say, if you go to Amazon, the novels are up there.
Okay.
Or you can email me. It's my name, Russell DuPont @comcast.net.
I'll include that for people as well. And yeah, we'll definitely do that. Let's move a few books, and let's thank the poet for his time. And thank you so much for being the first feature back, Russell. And we've had a few open mics just to recover from the 50th anniversary of Stone Soup this past May, and which was amazing. And we're hoping to keep the amazing features going until we ideally meet each other live again in September, but we're still going to keep the online arm of Stone Soup going in some way. We will keep that. We'll let you know about that.
Right.
And of course, as we mentioned before, Patricia Carrigan's going to be next week's feature, and more will be announced. And I think it's a good time to say thank you once again to Russell, and definitely share that information. I'll be putting some information on the Facebook page tomorrow. So definitely support his work. Check out Jerry Jazz Musician and a host of other journals, which he's also in. He was in Oddball last year for the first time, and I hope he gets back in those pages. For now, we can do the obligatory wave to say hello, to say goodbye to everyone. And
thank you all.
And well, Ethan would wave if he could, and so would Philip, who unfortunately probably had to park and go to work. But I thank everyone who came here, and let's keep on spreading the word for Stone Soup for the summer and keep things going. And I do appreciate Russell taking the feature spot here, and buy his book, which was nominated in 2019 for the Goodreads Award, and buy any one of his other poetry books, which I believe are also available online.
One thing I didn't mention, and this refers to Stone Soup, I go way back to Jack Powers when he had his shop down by Charles Street Jail back then. And he used to be at the poetry readings back there a long time ago.
It's great to have you back. It's great to welcome old friends of Jack and of Stone Soup, and maybe we'll see you in the gallery or in Cambridge when we celebrate the second half of the 50th anniversary celebration.
Right.
Hopefully in September. But until then, I wish everyone to stay safe and have yourself an excellent night. And thanks again for the excellent poetry. The video should go up anytime between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock tomorrow. I'll be announcing and tagging people, tagging Russell for that. So, and I'll be posting in the Stone Soup page. And of course, you can go back to the live feed tonight. So again, thank you very, very much for coming on. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Take care of
Thank you.
yourselves.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Good night.
Thank you
And
again,
thank you.
Russell.
And I hope you can come to Brownstone Poets this weekend. I have Mo Siegel, who's a jazz person, Jack Cooper, and Tish Camp. Check it out.
Tish is very good. Mo does the Angora Poets out
Oh,
of Paris,
he's
right?
excellent. He is a jazz affection. I think he was on Jerry Jazz too. I see him there.
Yeah.
And
See you
so
guys.
same with Jack Cooper. So peace out. Check it out. Sign up. Sign in.
See you next
Peace.
time.
See you
poets.
next week, everybody.
Bye.
Trisha
Bye.
next week, Russell tonight. Let's end this well. We have a lot to think on. We have a lot to look up to read later. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you
night,
all.
all.